This episode is brought to you by Battleborn Batteries, the best name in the RV and marine industry. These lithium batteries are designed and assembled in the USA, backed by a 10-year warranty. The best solution for your battery anxiety, so go check them out at battlebornbatteries.com.
Whether your adventure is on the road, on the water, or off the grid, Battleborn batteries keep you out there longer.
You are listening to Beyond the Wheel, a podcast about the people and ideas that drive the RV community forward.
Hi, everyone. On today's episode, we are joined by Keith from CLEAR2O. If you didn't catch our first episode with Keith, I highly recommend it. In that episode, Keith talks about the importance of having water filtration in your RV, whether you are a full-timer or a recreational RVer. In this episode, Keith is going to talk about a new personal water filter from CLEAR2O that will benefit those that like long hikes and may need to get water from an unreliable source. So sit back and enjoy this episode with Keith.
Hey, Keith, welcome back to the show. And for anyone who did not hear you on the first time, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and your role over at CLEAR2O?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me back again. I appreciate it. We had a good conversation last time, and I look forward to today as well. As for me, my business card says president, but we're a family-owned and operated business, so you can guess that I may be the guy who's stuffing the box, or I may be on the phone with the banks talking about our working capital at any time. So it just depends on what's needed for that moment.
And CLEAR2O is you are mainly a water filtration company, right? Is that how you would define yourself?
We make water filtration for home use, for consumer use. So our history has really been in water pitchers, water bottles, all filtration related. And then about close to 2.5 years ago, we entered into the RV space as well, using some of the technology that we have for home use and to really try to build a better filter that can actually take out more contaminants. So we have an RV ourselves, and we noticed that the campground water was really sometimes not exactly up to the par for what we would like to have. And so we built our own filter. And of course, then we made it available for sale for everybody else. And we've expanded those into other areas and expanding our filter offerings in total.
And we were talking before we started recording, and Kenny and I, after our last conversation with you, we both went and bought the inline filter, and now we both have the DIRTGUARD, and we both really like it. Performs very well. So we'll talk about the new personal water filter today, but just wanted to let everybody know that we actually, on your recommendation, Keith, went and bought those, and we're both very happy with them, and they work very well. So,
well, we thank you, and thanks for helping to get the word out on the DIRTGUARD as well, because we launched that during our COVID year, and so there's a lot of people who still haven't heard about it just simply because they haven't been out on the road yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really has been great. I would say for Sabrina and I, the best thing that the DIRTGUARD has been able to do for us is take away the need to buy bottles of water. We were going through lots of bottles of water, but now with the DIRTGUARD, the water tastes better, it smells better, it looks better, and we feel it's safe enough now that we can just drink it and save that money and save the plastic, honestly.
And that's really the objective of us at CLEAR2O. We really want to bring out the better water and help people to understand that you can actually filter your water to a very high degree overall, and it can be as good or even better than bottled water.
So today we're going to talk about the CLEAR2O personal water filter. Is that the right name for it, or do you guys have another name?
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. It's our marketing doesn't go that deep that we come up with crazy names on things. So it's our personal water filter.
Okay. And can you tell us what is a personal water filter, and also how does it differ from other water filters?
Sure, absolutely. The new personal water filter from CLEAR2O is really a device that allows you to take that water with you overall. So, a normal traditional filter is going to be able to use pressure and it's producing water for multiple uses at your campsite. we go RVing, we see people hiking, we also go hiking ourselves as well. And this allows you to take that water with you. And if you're at a situation where you run out of water and you need to get water locally, then you can actually drink from an open water source. So this is really not intended to be your primary water. We would expect that you would carry a bottle of water or carry that water with you. But if you're in a situation where you've run out of water and you are in a situation where you need to get more water there locally, then you can drink again from that open water source safely. And so we actually also include the canteen as well as the straw itself, or the personal water filter itself, to go along with that. So that's really its intent more than anything else.
Keith, when you say open water source, is that a pond, a stream, things like that?
All of the above.
Okay.
Any open water source. We don't recommend brackish or salt water, as you can guess on all of that. But any open freshwater source that you can find. Obviously, you can say this is getting fresh water if you just need a drink. But if you're in an emergency situation, then any water source, because this product actually protects you down to 0.1 micron. So that is all of the things that are normally going to bother you, cause you some type of gastro distress, et cetera, that you may get from an open water source. This is going to protect you against all of those types of things. So it's going to remove any type of risk for cysts, which are Giardia and Cryptosporidium. Also, any bacteria that are going to be in that water source as well, it will remove those as well. So those are going to be prevented from getting to you. And it's going to give you a much safer opportunity to be able to drink from that source.
Okay. I don't know what either two of those things were, but neither one of them sound like something I want to get.
Well, if you've ever heard of Montezuma's Revenge,
yes,
that's where those come from. So
okay.
You want to stay away from those where possible.
And then if somebody was using it for like stream water, do they need to test that water in any way before they use the personal water filter, or can they just use the personal water filter and be good to go?
Yeah, most often people are not going to be carrying a water test system with them,
Okay.
and they may not be at a level of chemistry that they can actually read the test in the first place. So they have to use good common sense on some of these things. And what we recommend is find a flowing water source. That's always going to be better than a still water source. But if you cannot find a flowing water source, and a pond, for example, is the best that you can find, then you need to look for the deepest area that you can get the water, so that you're trying to actually get it from an area that's cooler. The cooler the water is, the less contaminants that it's going to contain from a biological standpoint. So you really want to try to find a deep, a cool, an area that doesn't have, maybe the scum on top, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, to be able to get yourself where you can drink from some clean water. Now, if all you have is a muddy puddle, this will allow you to drink from a muddy puddle.
Wow.
So you can still survive based on what this is.
Now, will it actually clear up the water as well then? You said if it's a muddy puddle, if they run it through the water, the personal water filter, will the water be clear on the other end?
Yes, it will. So it's actually going to remove down to that 0.1 micron. So a human red blood cell is 5 microns. So if you can just guess what 0.1 is, it's teeny tiny. So it's going to take out all those particulates. Everything that's going to color that water, it's going to take out overall. So now it's going to try to become clogged because of that as well, because it's capturing all of that in there. So it is designed to backwash. So you would be able to take it, blow back through it, and clear the filter out. Or if you have some clean water, we recommend, and we've actually designed it so there's actually threads. So you can see here, threads on either end.
Okay.
So that you can reverse it and place a bottle and then squeeze water back through to backwash the filter. So it can be, once you clean it, it's available for use again.
So not even a hose, just screw it onto a water bottle, squeeze the water bottle, and push it through.
That's exactly right. You can blow through it and get some level of relief from it. And then the second part is to actually take a bottle of water, squeeze a bottle of water through it, and flush it out. And then it's ready for using again. It is a little different, and I should actually also say, because earlier when I held them up, I held up two pieces. Our difference is at CLEAR2O, beyond just the first stage filter, is a secondary stage. And the secondary stage is actually a carbon stage. So it actually just goes on the end and screws on and then makes yourself an entire straw that you can drink from. So even though the first stage is going to remove all of that bad water, the sediments, everything else that's in there, prevent you against any of the microbiologicals, etc., that are going to get there. If the water tastes fishy, it's still going to taste fishy unless you use a second stage. And so the second stage is a carbon stage. So now it's going to make that a little bit more pleasant experience. So you're not going to have to drink really bad tasting water. This is going to clean up all the taste, the odor, even some color issues whatsoever are going to be all cleaned up by the secondary stage on all of that. And that's what makes CLEAR2O a little bit different than some of the other products on the market.
So when you're using this filter, it's just how hard you can suck the water up through that straw?
Well, it's two pieces. One, it's designed so that you can take off the end caps. We include that. So one, if you've used it, it doesn't leak in your backpack, and also to keep the end caps clean. But you can take it down and actually use it as a straw directly into a water source. So just by dipping this into the water and then sucking that water straight through. In addition to that, that's not always optimal if the bank is, say, muddy or it's difficult to get near the water overall. Then what we also include is, again, a collapsible canteen. It's a 1 liter canteen that we also include. It has a sport spout, and then you can take this off and actually screw this on directly on here. So in this particular case, you would fill the bottle up with water, and then remove it, and then be able to squeeze the water back into yourself, passing through the filter. That way you can carry the water with you if you need to, etc. And it makes it so that you can dip into a better water source and fill up the bag, as opposed to trying to, go put your head down near the water. We try to make it so it's going to meet your needs wherever you are.
Is it like sucking up a milkshake, or, I mean, is it difficult, I guess, is the question.
It won't be as easy as just taking it straight through a normal straw overall, because it is going through a tight filter overall. But you'll find that it's relatively easy to get the water through it. In other words, you're not going to have to turn inside out trying to suck the water through overall. You will be able to get a full mouth of water very easily and be able to drink that water.
Okay.
So I have a question about the pouch, Keith. You fill the pouch with the open source, then screw the personal water filter to it, and then do you squeeze the pouch to get the water? Yeah. So that sounds like it would be easier to me anyway, that sounds like it'd be easier.
Yeah, it gives you that extra level of pressure to come through, and it would then allow you to really squirt the water into your mouth, as opposed to having to suck it out of the bag itself. So that's why we made it collapsible. That's why you can squeeze it very easily and be able to do that. It's a kit, right? So it's there to be able to use in different ways. You could actually just fill this bag on your hiking trip and bring clean water from your RV, etc., or wherever your water is from. Use that as your drinking source. If you run out, then you would be able to have the straw to get your local water and be able to do that. We're trying to fight a little bit about dehydration. Dehydration obviously is, one of the major issues if you're out hiking, especially in hot weather areas overall. So if you run out of water, it's a big deal. And you need to be able to get that water relatively quickly, especially depending on your age, your fitness level, etc. So, this just gives you that opportunity that if for whatever reason you ran out of water, we'd say first and foremost, try not to run out of water. Try to bring enough. But if you make a long hike, that may or may not be possible. And if you're out multiple days, obviously that probably isn't possible overall. And then this is going to give you that secondary water source so that you can be able to take that and really drink, again, safely. Safely is really the key issue.
So when you're showing me the personal water filter and you're showing me that has 2 filters, it reminds me of the DIRTGUARD. So in a sense, is this like a miniature version of your DIRTGUARD?
Yeah, it's a different technology overall, but we always are trying to get people to think in multiple stage filtration. There's just been so much communication over time in regard to this one filter and it does great, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Then later on you find out it really doesn't take out all the things that they don't tell you it's not taking out, as an example. And it's really taught people to think about a singular filter. And really what we would like to do at CLEAR2O is get people to think about the different types of things you're trying to filter out. So for example, particulates. Particulates are sand, silt, sediment, sticks and stones, anything that is going to be a physical thing. And the way to remove that is a physical barrier. So you need a physical barrier to be able to remove that. So what's important on that? Micron. So if you're talking about a micron, you need to be at a low micron to take out small particulates. Okay, so the DIRTGUARD you mentioned earlier is a 20 micron. This is a 0.1 micron overall. So then from there, the second stage is quite often something that is going to help you with the absorption issues that you may, and that's really the take out the chemical type of situations that you may be going against, whether there's, you know, benzene in the water, or if there's a heavy metal such as lead, or there's other types of contaminants that are in those waters. Carbon is an excellent source to be able to help remove those. It certainly will reduce them. And if you go with a high enough filter, it will actually remove them. So it depends on what you're trying to achieve. Obviously, filtration is always a balancing act between flow rate and level of cleanliness of the water, how portable it is, how big it is. We can make a huge filter that will take care of everything, make you H2O, but you probably wouldn't be able to strap it onto your RV overall. So it's always a balancing act from all of that. But we love people to understand stages and realize that they need multiple stages. Even inside one filter, it needs multiple stages to be able to bring out all the contaminants they need to bring out.
Okay. And are both those parts of the filter, are they both reusable, washable, and all that?
The microtubule side, which is actually the low micron side, the 0.1 micron side, it is what we talked about earlier. It is backwashable. So you either can blow back through it to get immediate results, or to use clean water and back flush it. We actually have a little window. It's kind of hard to see here, but a little window here, and you can actually see the microtubules inside.
Oh.
So when you see those starting to turn a deep color, overall, it's time to backwash that. I'm going to pass that back out again. And you can continue to use this. It's generally good for about 200 gallons overall of water, which is a substantial amount when you're talking about 1 liter at a time.
Yeah.
It's a lot of gallons.
It's a long time.
It does depend on your quality of your water and your back flushing and how often you do it, et cetera. So we think you're going to get multiple years of use out of this for the average person. So someone who's hiking the Appalachian Trail, they may buy one and they're done at the end of the trail maybe. But the average person is probably going to get multiple years out of this thing. Carbon is absorptive, so it does over time get used up. So it's good for 20 gallons. And so you can take this 20 gallons of this, and then it's time to replace this filter overall. It's not backwashable because what carbon does is it absorbs and it bonds with the chemicals. So you're not going to be able to separate those. So that's why you can't backwash this. But we do make a replacement kit. So you can buy a 2-pack of these. They're $16.99, and they're on Amazon, our website, etc. And so you just buy new replacement packs, maybe one each season that you may need, etc. And it's going to give you enough to be able to use this over probably multiple years.
Okay. All right.
And then you talked about not using it on salt or brackish water. What are the challenges with that?
Well, when you talk about, say, sodium ions or salt water overall, they are at a very, 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 very small level. And so in doing so, you have to go down to the atomic level to be able to get those out. And right now, other than distillation or reverse osmosis, those are really the two, I guess, most used technologies, and that's what you see at the water treatment plant level. So it takes for reverse osmosis, it takes a huge amount of pressure to be able to push through a very, very, very tight membrane to be able to remove those salt ions overall. So it's not something that you can usually deal with overall. So you're better to avoid those types of waters. To try to avoid the salt water altogether, of course. Even in the brackish water, if it's for survival, you can use this filter in that situation. We don't recommend salt water where possible. The reason why is obviously, as you know, if you drink salt water, it actually is diuretic, and so it's going to make you get rid of more water. And when you're trying to conserve water, it's fighting you on that. So it increases your opportunity for dehydration. So that's just from a strict hiking rule, best to avoid where possible.
And then you also talk about it does filter microplastics. And why should we be concerned about microplastics?
Well, you know, at CLEAR2O, we want you to use filters, and we want to convince you that filters are a better way to go, both for you, the cost, the environment, etc. And water bottles are obviously becoming more and more and more and more prevalent. And even though someone may say, well, I recycle my water bottle, or I always make sure it goes in the trash, I'm not somebody that's going to throw it on the ground. And we say, that's great. We appreciate all of that. But at the same time, that water bottle will disintegrate. And it will take many, 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 many years, if not decades, to disintegrate. But it does start to disintegrate. And when it does that, it starts to release some of those plastic fibers that are out there. So when you talk about microplastics can be anywhere from large chunks of plastic down to very, 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 very tiny, tiny, tiny pieces overall. Obviously, they get into the water table. They come out. They leach out of the garbage areas. They certainly, if there's a water bottle on the ground, it's leaching into the ground, and all of that is entering to the water table and eventually ends up everywhere. So the WHO has found microplastics in water all over the world. So it has really become ubiquitous with all of the water that's out there. And in doing so, it's hard to avoid. Now, at the same time, most microplastics are relatively large particles. So if you're at 1 micron or above, you generally are able to avoid the majority of microplastics. So the ones that are going to pass through, hopefully those don't have any kind of impact for you. But you certainly want to try to get microplastics out and not put them into your glass whatsoever. But for the most part, it's not something to get super nervous about if you're filtering your water. A good quality filter should be able to help you with that microplastic and give you at least enough protection to be able to make that water safe to drink.
And then Keith, could you talk a little bit about the development of the personal water filter? Like how much time goes into from the time you have the idea, okay, we want to make a personal water filter, to the time that it's ready for sale? How long about does that take?
Yeah, for us, I would say generally it's a 2-year cycle. Now, I will tell you, we're working on one product that we finally got over the hump. We've had so many trials at it that we finally were able to achieve the right formulation we were looking for. And we've been working on it for 4 years. So it sometimes does take much longer overall. But this particular product, we had the interest in entering into the camping side of the market. We have another product as well that will be launching next year that will be in camping related as well. And that path was probably a 2-year cycle, really, by the time that we started physically touching products and prototypes and things that we wanted to move forward with, probably 1.5 years before we actually got the production done and got it over here and ready to go into the marketplace. And that's about average. We have to kind of think a couple of years out to be able to go through that entire process of the development. And of course, once we develop a prototype, then we have testing on that. If the testing is positive and we get the results we're looking for, then it can happen relatively quickly after that. If the testing is not, which is usually the case, is that what we have to do is look for where our issues are, reformulate, redress this, improve the product, and then try again. And every product goes through a couple of trials generally before deemed ready to go ahead and let's start designing plastic for it so that we can, make a physical product out of that. So we start with the technology, and we always then look for the application of the technology or the improvement of the technology in the application that we want to use it for. And then once we get that done, and sometimes we make what we call Frankenstein models, which are very ugly and unattractive, but they at least help us to know, can we achieve what we're looking for? And then we go through the rest of the process after that.
So when you're deciding on the testing and everything, is the goal for the product to reach that 0.1 micron, and then you just do whatever it takes to get to that point?
Yeah, it's so in this particular case, microtubules are available. And so you can choose the actual micron for that particular product. So we chose 0.1 micron because it's a balancing act. You want to know how much flow rate is going to occur and how small a particle can you remove. Because obviously we can get lower than that. We can actually go down below that. But the problem is going to be that you won't be able to get it through the tube overall without some type of mechanical means overall.
Okay.
So we start with that process. So in this particular case, we did not invent microtubules, but we've made the application of those. And really I'll call it innovation, is really focusing on the carbon aspect of it and making both those things work together so that we can actually have a better quality of water source, as opposed to having to deal with it and using it more of just an emergency water source. We wanted it to be more of an enjoyable experience.
Now, we talked to you last pre-COVID, and now we've gone through 6 or 7 months, maybe more of COVID. How has that impacted your business, if at all?
Well, we're quite blessed, actually, because our business has held up and been relatively strong, and it's been really a shift in where our normal volume has come from. Is really moved a lot more online, and I think a lot of companies have seen that as well. So what we've been able to do is kind of change a number of things so that we can be able to service those customers a little bit faster than we maybe did before. We've worked with our warehouse, and we worked internally as well to be able to kind of create some processes so that we can actually do some of those things and get them to those people quickly. So we saw maybe a dramatic change overall, but it's somewhat balanced out between the two, and we've been able to stay ahead of the market for us. We did launch our DIRTGUARD, and that was a bit nerve-wracking for ourselves because we didn't know if people would show up to buy it. And, we put a number of years of development and a lot of money into the development of that, and we certainly wanted people to become aware of it. And we've been very lucky that overall people have discovered it through word of mouth, certainly through a lot of discussions that have gone on as well. And we're still selling DIRTGUARDs very well right now, even though the season is starting to come slowing down now. Our DIRTGUARD business is not. It's still continuing to go strong.
And do you think the changes you put in place because of COVID will be permanent changes for you? Like, do you think the business is going to permanently shift the way it has now?
Yeah, absolutely. If anything, I hope some of the old business comes back, because that always is helpful as well. But at the same time, some of the things that we've put in place is really to communicate more directly with our customers. We're a small business overall, and we live on the successes of our customers. And when they are successful, we're successful. So we really have spent more time. We've added blogging into our website so that we can share more tips and information. We feel like that market, and you guys probably know better than us, but we're sensing that the market is starved for information. They want to know more about what they can do, and just going to the store shelf is not good enough to be able to help them to understand what do they specifically need to do for their RV or rig to be able to bring that out, because there's lots of different solutions overall. So we get lots more questions now, way more than before. I guess everybody's home, so they're emailing us, and we try to respond to all of those and give advice We'd love to sell them the product, but we also want to give them advice as what is the best way to be able to try to achieve the water that they're trying to achieve.
And then I got one more related question, and that is, I first saw your product at the Tampa RV Super Show last year. And like shortly after that is when all of the RV trade shows sort of stopped or maybe went virtual. Kenny and I have been to a couple of virtual shows lately. Do you think the trade show or the lack of the trade shows has had a negative impact on your sales, or do you think people just shifted?
It's a great question. We were actually signed up to participate in the Hershey show, which would have been a first for us. And that was actually going to be the official DIRTGUARD launch. So even though we made it available before that, it really wasn't available for sale in our booth per se. But in Hershey, we really intended to be able to have stacks of them and be able to show people and be able to talk to people about it at that point in time and better explain it and help people be able to get a much better understanding of how it can work for them. And so that was a missed opportunity for us when that show was canceled. But we're preparing now for the Tampa show, and so we'll be there again. We decided to take a little bit bigger booth so we have more room in our booth to be able to not be quite as tight for everybody coming in to talk about it. And we're going to be then launching our DIRTGUARD there as well. So we like shows. And we like shows not because they take a week to go through and you have to haul everything there and haul everything back. That's the problem with trade shows in general. But we get to see customers. We get them to come in and they talk about their problems. And I can tell you, DIRTGUARD came straight out of people talking to us about their problems. And so it wasn't something that we said, well, let's just make this product. You know, we had tremendous amount of people talking about clogging issues, tremendous amount of people sending us their filter back, and even competitive filters that we asked for, so that we could tear them apart, look at them, and find out why are these things clogging. What we found consistently is sediment. So we found sediment, silt, sand, whatever it may be, all different sizes, filter clogging particulates. And we always call sediment the filter killer because it really is. It really will, over time, if it's a good enough filter, it'll block all that. When it blocks that, it's going to restrict your flow. So this is what said is, well, how do we protect against that? And why don't canister systems have that problem? And the reason why is canisters use a pre-filter. So then the question came in is, so how do we have a pre-filter that can be used inline? And then that was the birth of the DIRTGUARD overall, is to be able to make that product so that it fit. We tried to make it so it's easy to store. We tried to make it so it's compact and also replaceable, because now it's more really environmentally friendly because you're only replacing the filter now. You're no longer having to replace the entire housing. So that was another thing that we wanted to incorporate into that type of product.
Yeah, you're right about people, I think, starving for information. I don't know if there's any other group of people. There probably is, I'm sure, but RVers in general seem to be very interested in researching something before they buy it. I feel like RVers research things to death before they'll actually go out and make a purchase. So I think you're right. You know, when you're talking about the shows and stuff, that people can talk to you directly and get their questions answered and reassured, maybe in a sense. But yeah, there's so much information on YouTube about RVing and camping and all that. So yeah, you're right. I think RVers are very research dependent.
Well, one of the things that we came out of last year's show, or I guess this year's show overall, is that need for more information. So we've tried to put a lot more videos out, a lot more explanation, a lot more answering questions and FAQ kind of things to help people to get their answers that they're looking for. Because everybody's different. Everybody camps differently. Everybody goes to different campsites that have different quality levels of water. So you can't say this is a one size fits all for everyone and it work. But generally a different combination of things can better work for one person versus somebody else. So we just want to help them find that combination.
Now, is the personal water filter available now?
It is. It's available on our website, which is CLEAR2O.com. It's also available on Amazon, and it's also available on Walmart.com. So we presented it to a few more, and you're going to probably see it at other online retailers over time as well.
Yeah, and the thing I like about your personal water filter versus other carry-along water filters I've seen is that it seems more compact than some of the other ones. Some of the other ones are like the size of a big water, like a thermos. Yeah, that's the right word. And so this seems like something, even if you're not anticipating having to use it, it's easy to just throw in your backpack when you're going on a hike just for emergencies.
Exactly. And that's one of the things that we wanted to keep it somewhat compact in size, because we really want you to have it available and it finds space in your backpack. If you don't use it, great. That means you had enough water the entire time and it wasn't necessary. But if you need to use it, it's there for you, and you would be able to use it and have confidence in using it.
Yeah, it's kind of like a compact first aid kit. You never want to actually use it, but you want to have it with you just in case.
That's exactly right.
I have an off-topic question for you, Keith.
Okay.
So I'm curious, is this a market that you guys have ever thought about? Speaking about the personal water filter, and it's more for the adventurous type, I would imagine, and the hikers and everybody like that. I've noticed that some people have this personal shower system that they use a foot pump and they can take a shower. And I've never heard anybody ever talk about these showers filtering the water to make sure that the water is clean that they're showering with. Is that something that you guys would look into and say, hey, you could fill up your portable shower with stream water and it'll filter the water so that the water is actually, especially times now that Sean was saying with COVID, and keeping clean is a big deal. Have you guys ever thought about a personal washing showering system?
Yeah, well, I'll give you two answers to that.
Okay.
The answer is that we have what we call a product road. Okay, so this is a document that we produce that is ideas. Okay, it's ideas and opportunities more so than real products. But we keep that and we keep adding things to that. And eventually, if we see enough people talking about those, then they sometimes become real products. But there are problems that we've identified or someone has talked to us about as well. And it finds a home there on our product road so that we can keep looking at it and decide. So we have looked at some things that would be able to give you better filtration, and I don't know how to describe it, but in a similar situation. Okay, we've looked at some boondocking kind of filtration that may be more helpful for people who are boondocking, because the majority of things that we've actually produced so far are really for campsite where you have a water pressure. So we do have an interest in helping people who are off the grid and who are looking at things that maybe how they're dealing with their water overall. And that could be larger versions of what we just talked about, or other things, other types of filtration systems to be able to help with the problems that you're describing as well.
Okay.
So we love new ideas. It's what makes the job fun more than anything else. So especially if we solve a problem that somebody comes up to us and said, hey, you know what? You finally did it for me. I have better water because, whatever it may be, we always love that. It keeps us going. I'm
not trying to add more to your plate. It's just that, I love this.
It's great. New products. I love new products. If as the business person, I have to balance how many we can bring out at any point in time. But if I could have it, I would have them all.
Okay. It's just that I'm so impressed with this DIRTGUARD, and I'm just thinking, who better to come up with a product for these other people that, like you're mentioning, the boondocks or stuff like that are looking for clean water for cleaning themselves. And
absolutely. Well, it comes again from the technology. And I mentioned earlier that we had a technology that we've been working on for a number of years. We're finally getting to the point where we're really thrilled where we are on that. And we expect that new technology to take us into places that we couldn't get before. And, or I shouldn't say we could get there, but not maybe cost effectively, or maybe it was not working the way we would like it to work. So there's new technology we expect to open some of those doors.
Okay.
And how are you handling, it seems like even since last time we talked to you, your company has grown How are you handling that growth, and what have been some of the challenges?
Well, it's a great question. We've been, as I said earlier, blessed through everything. We've actually been making some moves internally to be able to help us to be able to handle things a little bit better. We've been a manual, family-owned business. We do everything basically by hand. But in the last numbers of months, we've actually now incorporated going more electronic on a number of things. So, for example, now our accounting is done in the cloud. So that's helped us, and that's allowed us to be able to actually now connect to other things that are available to us. So it's opened some doors up on that. We're in the process right now of moving to EDI with some of our customers, and that's going to help out a lot, because they demand that you create labels, they demand that you give them the packing list, the bill of ladings, etc. And that's very time consuming to manually produce all of that. So going to EDI and setting all that up, we're in the process right now of doing that. And that actually is labor saving for us, so that we can actually get back to what we like to do, which is really focus in on the product, focus on the communication, helping people to figure out, find us in the first place, as well as to really understand our products and what value they can get from those products. So we've got more to go. We're working with our warehousing system now that they're putting some improvements in as well through the same thing. They're a small family-owned business as well, and they're sensing the same things we are, that we need to move along. I feel like this is what's going to be the best thing for us for right now, and it positions us to take on a lot more volume a lot quicker if we were to be able to grow in the way that I hope we grow. We're happy where we are. We want to grow because we want to bring out new products and have the new products grow as well. But it really is about trying to make clean water more than trying to build a big business. Kind of, we believed if we made great products, the good business would come. So that's kind of still our attitude.
And you're also helping the environment tremendously along the way.
Yeah, we're trying to do our little part. If in the end, when hopefully we save some microplastics from going into the water table, I think that we've done a good job.
So I think, Keith, that's all of our questions. Is there anything that you wanted to say to add to the conversation, or anything we missed? Anything else you want to talk about?
Well, I think we covered the majority of the personal water filter, and I think people can understand exactly how it will work and how it actually is going to benefit them overall. I just want to encourage everybody that watches this program to check out our website. Again, if you don't want to look at ours, look at someone else's. But I go to so many RV parks and I see no filtration at all, none. And I just think those people need to move to the level, and they need to have some understanding of what quality of water that they can actually have. I encourage everyone, talk to your neighbors, talk to everyone. And again, you can sell the green product. I'm happy with that. We'd love to take the orders. But if we can get more people using filtration, we know we'll win customers over time. But we really need to get more people using filtration.
Yeah, I agree with that. And you're right. It's very surprising how many people don't use any filtration at the campgrounds. And sometimes as an RVer, sometimes you wonder, like, do they have just a bunch of bottled water in their RV, or are they okay with drinking the dirty water? And also, one thing we learned early on RVing is that they have those water flow restrictors built into these RV lines, and that sediment clogs those things up, and you end up digging through to find which flow restrictor is clogged with sediment that you have to clean out.
Absolutely. Yep, absolutely. And it cakes up, and you can see it on there, and it's difficult to remove once it's in there. So the best thing is to keep it out altogether. And you're going to have a happier system, a better system. I mean, you don't need it's the hardening of the arteries of the RV. It's really what it is. So best to keep it out. It's the best approach overall. So.
Well, thanks so much for coming on again. And we'll have links to everything in our show notes. And we look forward to having you on a third time as you guys continue to grow.
Well, we're going to have new products, so we have more to talk about. So I look forward to that.
Awesome.
Great. Yeah, thanks so much.
All
Thanks,
right.
Keith.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
We love when guests come back to share how things are going with their company or give us updates on new products like Keith just did today. Sean and I both bought the CLEAR2O DIRTGUARD and really enjoy the benefits of the 2-stage filtration, and that is what really stood out to me with their personal water filter. If you are into biking, hiking, or anything outdoors, I think this will be a great addition to your gear. We want to thank Keith for his time and look forward to him coming back on the show again in the future. We hope you enjoyed this episode and ask if you could leave a review or a rating. This helps the show get ranked and allows it to reach a larger audience. Take care, everyone, and safe travels. This episode is brought to you by Battleborn Batteries, the best name in the RV and marine industry. These lithium batteries are designed and assembled in the USA, backed by a 10-year warranty. The best solution for your battery anxiety, so go check them out at battlebornbatteries.com.